Today, we are having a great show about thriving over adversity and beating burnout and also building resilience. So we'll learn about what that means. But let me tell you who I am. I'm Katherine White. I'm your badass MC for the day of this wonderful power lunch we've built to build community and really build the kind of community we need to sort of keep ourselves together and keep our feet on the ground. And we're so, like we said, glad you're starting the day with us today. And, you know, I wanted to also talk about some fun trivia today. Today is one of those banner release days for musical masterworks. Some of us from the 80s that like to love music and dance in. Today, Nirvana released their famous LP, Nevermind, and also the Red Hot Chili Peppers, one of my favorite bands, released Red Hot. Chili Peppers released Blood Sugar Sex Magic. So, and also Diana Ross, she has a good one, Eaten. Her great album that was released today was Eaten Alive. That was 36 years ago. So talk about like time flies. So here we are. And today's show. Oh, what? Oh, sorry. Somebody yelled out something good. So we're so glad you're here. We have some great guests to introduce. I love to bring them up to say hello before we get the show started. And Paul Gorski, welcome. You are the founder of Equity Literacy and Institute. How are you doing?
I'm doing great and just happy to be back in Virginia in a virtual sense.
Yeah, and you're from Sterling, Virginia, and now you're in South Carolina, and you have a 2-month-old, so you must know something about burnout in a whole different way.
Well, I would say she's more renewing than burning out, but I could use more sleep.
Well, the sleep is important, so that's super. Well, good. We're so glad. I can't wait to hear about your research. It's focusing on activists. So thank you for being here. And next up, a friend, a wonderful person, just an amazing lady to know, Corinne Coppola. Hello, and you are a resilience and mindfulness expert. How are you doing, friend?
I'm doing really well, Katherine. Love your vibe and love being here with all of you. I'm really excited for today.
Yes, so Corinne, you are also figured out how to build some of this energy. You've been at the beach, you have a little getaway, enjoying that?
Yes, indeed. For a few months, I just sent Paul, I'm on the other end of the spectrum. My youngest of 3 just went off to college. So I've taken a few months to rent a cottage at the beach to figure out what the next thing is going to be for me. So,
well, we're excited you're here because we definitely are all feeling this kind of burnout and feeling, we really wanted to do this show because this is what we've been hearing. So I'm so glad to see you, and we will circle back in a little bit. And we will also be hearing from Kristina Hagen from the Campaign for the Friendly Family Economy, but she will be checking in with us later. But we also will be hearing from Briana Sewell, candidate in HD 51. Is Briana in the room?
No candidates yet, but we'll see them soon.
Well, we know Elizabeth Guzman is going to be here from HD 31, but she is checking in later also. So I think we have covered our guest list, which is really super great. And some business, as I say. We want to make sure that you support what we do. So we're so thankful when you go to our YouTube and you subscribe to it. We have some fantastic content there. And it's what you can do on a rainy day is why not watch some of the stuff that we've been providing. And make sure you follow us on social media. And Stair and the team will put those links in the chat. And more importantly, our favorite time of the hour is the after chat. So when we wrap up, we hope that you stick around for the after chat. And if you're a guest on the show, you're welcome to stick around. This is where the power crew gets to just sort of just relax and talk about what's on our mind. And that's how we've actually built our community. And that really empowers us. So we hope that you'll stick around. And most importantly, become a patron of the show. We want to thank especially today a new patron that came in, Bonnie Beckett. Is Bonnie here? No, not yet. Bonnie, thank you very much. And we can put that link in there in the chat. For just a cup of a coffee, you can support our show, and it helps us do things like this wonderful Zoom. So I'm glad you hope your feet are on the ground and you're present and ready to go, because you want to meet the team that brings it to you. I want to introduce Stair, Calhoun, Ambassador of Buzz, and Big Badass. Unmute yourself, friend. Come on up. What's going on? You have so much things to tell, a few things to tell us. So let's hear it.
Thank you, Katherine. Good morning.
Good morning.
My timers are going off. I just admitted some more people in. I'm glad to see my friend Ellie is here. I will get to the comments about her in a moment. We have a Canvas launch that we're doing on Sunday at 4 p.m. in Sterling. This launch is for Kathleen Murphy, Delegate Kathleen Murphy, and the Virginia Turnout Projects, when we'll have our statewide candidates there. We helped organize this canvas to help Delegate Murphy as she is behind in her campaign following the death of her daughter, as many of you are aware. We are honored that Delegate Murphy will present us with House Resolution 727, commending Network Nova for our work.
How awesome is that? I hate to interrupt, but that's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Right.
So it states that Network Nova educates and empowers voters to better engage with candidates and elected officials, that we've been doing this for 5 years with a diverse coalition of community organizations in pursuit of the common goals of equality, justice, and human rights. And we provide information on critical issues and policies and host a wide range of activities and events, including our annual Women's Summit for Political Action.
Nice.
So she will be presenting this resolution to us at this Canvas launch. So please join us at this Canvas launch on Sunday for 4 o'clock. And we've got the mobilized link will go in. The other thing is that I got this fabulous phone call from Ellie Schmielt this morning telling me, I think Ellie's here someplace.
From the Feminist Majority, she's the president, right?
Yeah. The president of Feminist Majority, and told me what was going to happen for the march. Okay, so there's going to be at Freedom Plaza. The march itself will start. The program will start at 11 o'clock. We are going to meet at 10:30 at the statue. We have the sign up form here, and that's just
the Freedom Plaza. Correct?
It's the Freedom Plaza. We've got, if you scroll down also in this form, it shows you exactly where it is on a little map here. Okay,
nice.
East End, 13th and Pennsylvania.
Awesome.
We will have signs.
The one you have behind you, right?
Don't Texas, Virginia, keep VA blue to pass out, and please join us. So in that regard, I have also made a tweet this morning. Ooh. And I'm going to put that in for you all to tweet that we're doing this.
Yes, we love tweeting. And I hope that Kathleen has a medal. I wanted like one of those medals, like the Wizard of Oz, the little bravery line or something fun. So I hope we get a medal too. I'm teasing.
A medal too. Yeah. Yeah. Medal would be good.
Yeah. Something not fun just a piece of paper, badass. Right? I'm teasing. Let's bring up Robbins F. Warner, show wizard. I know that you have been busy with postcards, so I'm glad you're here to tell us about something else beside postcards.
Yes, I am. I was at a protest yesterday in Loudoun. Listen to this. A Loudoun County judge jailed a witness in a domestic violence case. She was in the courtroom testifying against her assailant, having been subpoenaed to testify, and the judge sentenced her to jail for acknowledging she'd smoked a joint earlier in the day because of nerves having to face her assailant. And you know, in Virginia, marijuana is legal. So people are calling for the judge to be investigated. And next week on this show, we'll have Commonwealth Attorney Buddha Bijaran and sexual assault advocate Lisa Sales to discuss this with us. So if I'm going to put some stuff in the chat about this, but this is just outrageous, especially on the heels of all that's going on about sexual assault. And we know that women are hesitant to come forth about sexual assault and domestic violence. And this is the kind of case that, you know, makes people not want to come forth. So
yeah, no doubt. No, thank you, Robin, for that. And thank you for all you do. And is any of the cats present? I love when the cats come on. So if we can see Monty later, that would be fun.
Of course. Well, they're sunning themselves on the porch because it's finally a beautiful day, but I'm sure they'll come at some point.
Okay, good. Meow, as we say. Okay, shortstop, Rosemarie Savino. How are you, love friend? Bringing
Happy
it.
Friday, everybody. I am so excited, as I am every Friday, to listen and learn and to see what y'all bring to the table.
Yeah, you're in a whole different space. Like, did you clean your office or did you adjust something? How nice it looks.
Okay, fact number one, I don't clean my office.
Okay,
to come in. I'm too busy doing other stuff. I just got sick of looking in one direction, so I put my computer in a different direction.
Well, that is good. And I think today with little things we can do, Corinne, right? Like to help us. And then sometimes it's like readjusting our room. So this is great. Okay, super. So lastly, we always love to hear about our news anchor, Louisa Borowski, live from her place in Arlington. Louisa, bring it for the grassroots. What's happening?
All right, everyone. It is so good to see you. And because we're talking about burnout today, I wanted to start out with, we know our groups, it's getting harder and harder to get people to come out and canvass. That does not mean you shouldn't keep asking them to canvass, but we want to give you another way to help get out the vote. So as we know in Virginia this year, it is a turnout election, which means we need every Democrat to vote. So that means it's important for us just to get all the people up here in Northern Virginia, in Arlington, in Fairfax, in Loudoun to vote. And we can do that through relational organizing. There's a great app that I'm going to put the information for in the chat. It's called Reach. John Ossoff used it in his campaign, and it helped bring out 35,000 more voters than would have voted otherwise. We have the opportunity to use it this year. And Will, who is great, I just met him earlier this week, is super available to help train you, to help have a meeting with you, to get you and your groups engaged. So I'm going to put that information in the chat because this is a great opportunity for those people who just keep saying, oh, I just don't want to canvass.
Right.
Text your friends, text people in your network that you have their number in your phone. It's a really good relational way to get people out. And we've actually seen that these one-on-ones can be just as effective, if not more effective, than knocking on doors, people that you don't know. So please take advantage of this. I'm also going to push canvassing, though, as always, for the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to put in the chat, we have got canvases galore on Sunday. You heard about the great one that Stair shared. There are a bunch earlier in the day as well. So double up, right? If you are in Arlington, which I am, I will be going to the 12 o'clock launch with Senator Klobuchar, and I will put the information for that launch in the chat. It's going to be super fun. And then we get to go knock doors and get Arlingtonians to vote, which again is going to be super critical for this turnout. I want to remind you that we have 3 candidates of the week for the coalition: Fennell Norton, Rodney Willett, and Paul Seiker. I will put their information in the chat. Please show them some love on social media. This is another way that we're just trying to get their names out there. We want people to know when they get to the ballot box, who are those Democrats that we want them to support. And then finally, on a non-election note, we are still pushing for campaign finance reform. And we have a sign-on letter that we are asking groups to sign on to anytime before Tuesday. The goal is to get the letter out to the committee. They're having their last meeting on October 1st. We want them to know that we are watching and we are expecting them to make real recommendations that we can turn into legislation for our 2022 General Assembly. So just a couple things going on.
That's it. Just a few things. Well, there's always something to do. And I think when I look at the long list of all the stuff that we need to do, I think this is where we're not even really, sometimes we're just burnt out from reading it all. We're like, oh my God, the list is so huge, whatever, just going to have a glass of wine and just hope for the best.
The thing is, pick your thing, right? I try to just pick one thing I'm going to do each week. And for me, it's usually canvassing. So It's when is that time that I can fit it in? Like Saturday, I'm going to go hiking with my friends. But Sunday, I've set aside some time to be able to go to that lunch with Senator Klobuchar and get out on some doors with some of my friends. Earlier this week, I will note that I voted early with 3 of my political friends, and then we went out and had wine. So, you know, it is important to have a combination, right? Do something, do the right thing, and then go and celebrate afterwards.
Yeah, no doubt. That's really super fun. So yeah, thank you, Louisa, as usual, bringing it. And hopefully maybe we can have Will come on to talk about reach. Maybe we can do something like that. But I know that
would be
people.
Great. He is available all the time. So
let's get him on. Let's do it.
All right.
I've used Reach before, and it's like all these little apps you have to do. I want to say special call out to my friend Liz Reinert, who's here. And what's fun about Liz, she's very supportive of my work. I'm supportive of her work. She is the executive of Suited for Change, which helps women to get suited up, to be ready to go, to look good for job interviews. And you can put your information, Liz, in there for Suited for Change.
Thanks for having me. I'm in the office, the boutique today, so I'm being quiet. I'm just quietly listening and seeing what's going on. Thanks for having me. Katherine, you had a good event last night. Are you going to mention it?
Yeah, I'll mention it, but Pearl's here for California. So this is what I love about community. So Liz is my girlfriend around the corner. She helps me with so much of our work. Pearl is her friend from California, and Pearl is now a regular guest on the show, and she's my new California friend, and we have many people from California. So I wanted to say thank you. We have some candidates here, and Vivian Watts has come in, and this is a great community. So why don't we get started with our first guest? Excited to meet Paul Gorski. Like I said before, if you weren't here, he's the founder of Equity Literacy Institute, and you'll get us started to talk about what you found out about your research about burnout for activists specifically. And so let's just get started with one question. How did you get interested in this issue in general of activist burnout?
Yeah, great question. I was teaching at George Mason University and teaching many courses related to kind of social justice issues, courses about racism and poverty and environmental justice and those sorts of courses. So most of my students were young activists. Most of them were young women of color between the ages of like 18 and 25. I was teaching in a bachelor's program and a master's program, and many of them were already burned out. And so I thought, well, if I'm gonna mentor these young activists, and then of course in my own activism, just seeing the rates of burnout and people, having to sort of walk away from whatever movement they're part of, just from out of sheer exhaustion. So that's what made me interested. I just thought it was something I needed to learn more about.
Right. So then you get interested in this, you see it just live in your classrooms and different people and just hearing their stories. And then so the research part of it, now that is this where you founded this Institute of Equity? Did this somehow come into it? But generally about the research element of it, what did that look like?
Well, the Equity Literacy Institute is actually a little bit different. That's a sort of a collaborative of people who do equity and social justice kind of work in education. So there's a little bit of overlap. But for the research, basically what I did was I looked for activists. And again, these were very specifically activists who were doing like social justice work, women's rights, anti-racism, environmental justice, gay rights, those sorts of things. Found people who had dedicated their lives to that activism, not people who were just sort of occasional activists, but people who had sort of wrapped their lives around these causes, and then who had experienced burnout from that. And I really wanted to understand what caused their burnout, because when activists burn out, it affects individual activists, but it also affects entire movements that lose,
yes, institutional
knowledge and energy and everything else.
I would assume it could also affect them personally when you feel like maybe you've just given up and you walked away, because I'm assuming these people are very passionate and they care so much, and that must be also what, because all of us that think about like sort of just saying, hey, I'm done. It would be I don't know if it would be a relief feeling.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think for a lot of activists who burn out and sort of walk away, I think initially some of them do feel pretty relieved. But again, these are the people I talked to were people who really did commit their lives to whatever cause they were working on. So I think in the moment they might feel like, well, I'm glad to have a break from that, but it's tough because their identities are so, even I as an activist, my identity is so wrapped into that activism that it's tough. And that's actually part of the cause of the burnout, because a lot of people I work with, anti-racist activists, all their friends are anti-racist activists. So it's like, we can't just go have lunch or we can't go to a movie without seeing all of the racism in the movie. And so, so that's like a cause of the burnout, but also, one of the struggles people have when they do burn out.
Right. So you're talking about sort of like the pressure we put on ourselves too, right? That could be it. And then talk about the pressure that comes from other areas that cause burnout.
Yeah, well, my colleagues and I sort of found three major causes. One was, like you mentioned, the pressure we put on ourselves, usually because activists understand not just individual implications of something like racism, but institutional, structural, big scope, the big scope of how many people are being harmed. Another one is the sort of pressure that exists from people who aren't very happy about what we stand for. And so, things that are happening today, like the doxing and the personal attacks, people get police violence against activists. There's research that shows that police violence against activists is elevated, especially for Black activists, anti-racist activists. So there's that stuff, activists being jailed, and then there's issues that exist among activists and within movements that can also create burnout.
Yeah, so like kind of more how they treat each other, or maybe there's some kind of that. And yeah, I mean, I see that sometimes in groups, or people can fall out of friendships over different things. And there is that, and this is where we lean on people. So, I mean, the focus should be on what we're trying to fight for, but we're still people. So I could see that definitely happens. So that very, very interesting. So before we wrap up here, so tell us about how we can combat it from your point of view, what your research showed. I mean, you identified some of the ways, but what are your ideas about combating burnout?
Well, I think probably somebody else will talk about the importance of self-care. I think one of the challenges is that everyone presumes that self-care is going to eliminate burnout. Self-care can sort of mitigate burnout, but the major causes of burnout, self-care is not an adequate response. So for instance, in my interviews, about half of the women I interviewed who are activists, their burnout was associated partially with experiencing sexism or sexual harassment or sexual assault within their movements.
Wow.
So self-care is going to do nothing for that kind of burnout. So we need the self-care piece, which is, be rested, hydrate, but we also need community care. We need communities of activists who are attending to one another's well-being.
Like the Friday Power Lunch, like this kind of community.
This is exactly what that is. This is an example of community care.
Well, awesome. So to wrap up, you have some workshops coming up that maybe people will be interested in.
Yeah, well, in October, we're doing a 4-part series, Racial Equity Facilitator Series. So anybody who wants to learn how to facilitate conversations about racism, You can go to equityliteracy.org and learn more about that. But a little later, we're planning on, we're working on, we don't know when it's going to be yet, but a workshop specifically for people doing social justice work about how to overcome burnout and how to build movements that protect people's well-being, the people within the movement, their well-being, instead of contributing to their burnout.
Okay, well, super. Well, thank you so much, and good luck with that new baby. I mean, like I said, you 2 months old, you'll have to experience that yourself and take care of that, because babies always sleep. They always catch up and sleep. It's us that gets exhausted. They're like, they may be up all night, and we're, you know, we just spend the day just so exhausted. So good luck with all of that, and congratulations too.
Thanks. What a pleasure it's been to join you all.
Yeah, super great to meet you. And with that, let's just get to it, where we're very excited to have on Corinne Coppola. And like I said before, and I introduced you, a friend, we've known each other for a while, especially our kids around the same age too. So it's really great. And I've loved to watch your journey of your growth into this area. You started out with yoga, I remember, and then you've really got yourself into this space in such an amazing way, mindfulness expert. And so we need you, and we need your voice today. Let's just get started. Talk about how we're going to work on this resilience, building it up and taking care of ourselves.
Well, first, I'd love to invite, thank you so much, Katherine. It's a joy to be here. I was just telling a friend that, yeah, we met probably, I don't know, at least 15 years ago. So I wanted to invite you all to take a piece of paper and a pen. And if you don't have that handy, just go to your notes on your phone and really quickly answer this question. Who do you take care of in your world? That includes pets, whatever, just a mind dump, just a brain dump, really quickly, a list of everybody and everything you take care of on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So go, we'll give you a couple minutes to do that. That's the first thing.
I love it. And I see people are busy making their lists. And if you want to, you can, write it on the wall. We're open. Little graffiti.
Yeah, it is helpful to write it down rather than just keeping it. Don't keep it in your head. This is something that we need to actively, just take notes on, because there's another question coming.
Awesome.
Yeah, so just take another minute or so.
I'll play us a little music.
Feels like I'm surfing on a sound wave.
How's everybody doing? Are you good? You want to thumbs up? You're good on your list? Okay, thanks, Katherine, for the tunes. So now the question is, where did you put yourself on this list? So dump in the chat how many people, things, what the number is that you put on your list. Do that number first. Like, how many people, things did you put on the list?
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, exactly. So in all of these things, all of these people that you take care of, you don't think of yourself, right? 9, 10, 5, 6. Yeah. A lot of things. 43 people. That's a lot. And and we don't even put ourselves on it. So my invitation to you is to start thinking about, where do I fall in that list? Like, what is, and as Paul said, like, community care is critical, right? It's like the invisible stressors that we don't see, right? When we don't feel like we belong to a community or to others, that creates stress within itself, right? So I'm going to give you some tips today, just some quick things that you can do to help ground yourself during the day. Because here's what we do. We go from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, especially activists, right? Like as much as we can do, we're going to take on. If we don't leave space for ourselves, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever it is in between sessions or appointments or whatever you've got going, that's how at the end of the day, we're on, the bed, like, what did I even do today? Right? Okay. So the power of the pause is so important. And mindfulness, this other thing I wanted to let you know, it's not this magic pill, and it's not something that you have to sit still to do. Okay. So that is a myth that I just want to bust right out of because we were born with the ability to be mindful because we have our senses. And when we have our 5 senses, that means at any moment, we can be present with whatever's happening. So we're going to do a little exercise right now. It's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Maybe you've heard of it. Maybe you haven't. And it's really going through our senses. So let me explain first, and then I'll lead you through it. So at first, we're going to start off with 5 things we can see, 4 things we can hear, 3 things we can touch, 2 things that we smell, and 1 thing that we taste. And you can do this in any order. So I don't want you to think like, oh, we're going to do this wrong. Or maybe you do 10 things that you hear, right? So it's just about getting into our senses and noticing what's happening. Because that's what mindfulness is. It's like we notice what's happening right in this moment. So if you want, you can close, well, you can't close your eyes because we're going to do 5 things you can see. So take a few deep breaths, just right where you are. Take a nice deep breath in, and like you're blowing out candles, just let out the week. 1 more time. Maybe even have to let out the morning. And so I'm going to invite you right now just to look around the room where you're seated and name quietly to yourself 5 things that you see. And now you can close your eyes, because closing your eyes helps actually you hear a little bit more acutely. So closing your eyes, notice 4 things that you can hear. You can keep your eyes closed, or you can gently open them. And 3 things that you can touch. So this might be the socks on your feet. It might be your hands resting on your lap. Whatever sensation of touch that you can sense into. And then 2 things that you can smell. And 1 thing that you can taste. Maybe you notice that you're thirsty right now. All right. So come back to presence right now. And how was that for everybody? What did you notice? Go ahead and drop it into the chat. Took your mind to different places. Okay, good. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs to the side, whatever. More relaxed, calm, thumbs up. Yes, so we have this monkey mind. That's another great point. Like we have 60, 70, 80,000 thoughts a day. We're not going to just be able to get rid of them. It's about coming back to right here, right now. Yeah, and what happens is that we fine tune, like we can listen for, right? So this is a moment. So it's great that you learn this exercise, but what I'm concerned about is how you're going to integrate that into your day. Because I can show you all this great stuff, and then we get off and we're like, oh, right, I'm not going to do this on a Saturday or Sunday, but you can. So you can do this right after. So I'm going to invite you to set a timer on your phone to do this once or twice a day, just checking in with your senses. And maybe it's only one sense. Maybe it's only hearing, that you listen to the sounds around you, just for 30 seconds, 20, 30 seconds, and take some deep breaths. It's a way to reset. And we think often, oh, we don't need to reset, but then we get burnt out. So we need these pauses. Our brains actually need us to pause. Our bodies need us to pause. So let me read some other. So you can smell your tea, right? So I couldn't smell more than one thing, and that's okay too, right? It's just about being able to be present with whatever is going on. So that's one. I'm going to give you another one, and then I'm happy to answer any questions or what have you. So this is literally finger tracing. Okay. And I've shown this to a lot of people over the years, probably hundreds, thousands of people. And it's such a simple way to bring us back to the present moment. And you can teach it to literally anyone that has the use of their hands, okay? Or at least one hand. And even if they have some fingers that are not, because we forget, we teach to able-bodied people, right? So it's important for us to keep in mind who might not be able-bodied. So you take the opposite finger, and on an inhale, you're breathing in, you go up the thumb. On an exhale, down the thumb. Breathe in up the first finger, breathe out down. Breathe in, up, exhale down. So that's what you're gonna do, 3 rounds of that on your own. So go ahead and trace your fingers. And again, this is something you can close your eyes if that's helpful. And maybe you can listen to some sounds around you. Just keep going. Notice where the mind went and focus on the fingers, on the sensations of the fingers. Mm-hmm. Just tracing the hand. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How's everybody feeling?
Calmer.
Okay. So those are 2 ways. Again, it's great that you learn these exercises and these tools, but it's really important to integrate them, to check in with yourself during the day and just giving yourself that break to get our bodies back into the rest and digest modes, so that we can have clear minds to think about the next best thing.
Yeah, so in the major top takeaways for people that, it's been funny, everywhere we've gone in the last couple of weeks, a lot of people are talking about that feeling of burnout. So it is really kind of just making sure. I like when we talked about mindset. And that really was important. That kind of struck me, just really how we intentionally structure the mind, and build these habits that are good habits, right?
Right. The gratitude, it's no joke. I'm sure Paul can talk about this. We need to reprogram our neural pathways. And the only way we can do that is through practice. Right? The great news is we get to not be as reactive, right? By doing these different practices. The gratitude, like naming 3 things and being specific, either when you get up or when you go to bed at night. I do both, you know, and being as specific and having a gratitude buddy. Because like the other day I got off of my, especially when you work on your own, right? I close my computer, I finish for the day. And you know what I said to myself? Good job, Corinne. Good job. You did great. You know, we have to do these things for ourselves. Nobody else is going to do them for us, right? So we really, really have to think about, also when we accept things, right? We have a vision of how we want to live, our intention. Do we take the pause before we say yes or no? Is this really go up to the big overall value that I have in how I'm living or what I'm doing? Like, how is this going to impact what my day is going to be like and how I'm going to show up?
No, I love it. No, thank you. Thank you for getting us grounded. And I think that this is really good. I was laughing when I was doing the tracing on my hands. I was like, oh, my hands are really dry. I'm like, I got to take care of myself. I got to put lotion on. So I had to laugh that my head was all like going already, like noticing something else. I had to laugh, but thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. And good luck.
It's an honor to be here, Katherine.
Yeah, we'll be back in touch. Hopefully you can stick around. And I had to say, I love Stephen's in the room, Kaplan. It's always great to see Stephen. And I just read his thing. He's like, I hear dad listening to blues music. I hear the kids playing in the other room, the hum of the fridge, and one of the dogs drinking water. If that isn't a country song, Stephen, we need to make sure that that is a lyrics to some song, because that's too good. Well, I'm very excited for our next guest who's here, Elizabeth Guzman, Delegate Guzman. I haven't seen you in a while. It's so great to see you. And you look great, as usual. Tell us, just jumping right into this topic, thriving over adversity. I mean, you're a candidate. You ran for statewide. What did you do? How did you build this into your day to take care of yourself or to keep, to avoid that burnout?
Well, we have heard very great tips, and I actually do a few of those. Definitely, you have to take advantage of your me time. When that is, if you are driving, when you're sleeping, get up early and just think about your day and the things that you have to accomplish. But I think as an elected official that has to have a full-time job in order to make ends meet, because we don't live off the salary of a delegate, I think it's extremely important. My motivation is the accomplishments that we have made within the last 2 years. We have the great opportunity to take the majority, and we hit the ground running since day one, delivering on the promises that we made to our constituents. And I was able to serve in the minority as well. So I think that kept me re-energized, because I don't want to go back. I want to look into the future. And when you look at the future, you're thinking about your children, your grandchildren, and how you have to fight for a better Virginia. So that's what I'll do to keep that energy and move forward.
Yeah, well, you always bring the energy. And when I always love to see you too, you always have a great shoes on, and they just make me so happy. You always have a great outfit in those shoes. You just always makes me happy. So we wanted to spotlight an area in Virginia, especially with the election coming in. Prince William, people know maybe where it is in the room, maybe not. But you've been now a delegate. This will be since 2017. I mean, we met you back then, helped you get elected, and so excited to keep you in that seat. So tell us what's going on in Prince William right now about the early voting activities and what you're doing specifically to get at the Hispanic vote in the community around, and not only in Prince William, but around the state.
Well, thank you for the question. I think one of our key points for us to flip the districts in Prince William County was to promote early vote. Back then, it was with an excuse, but once again, thanks to a Democratic majority, you don't need the excuse now. So we spent a lot of time communicating with voters and tell them what was available to them. 70% of my constituency, including Prince William and Fauquier County, they commute outside of the county for a high-paying job. And now they are teleworking. So we took a lot of time to communicate with them and what is available to them if they are back then when they needed an excuse. And now it's much easier. But I also personally realized in my district, many people think that the largest population that I serve are Latinx, and that's not the case. I wish, it's only 14%, but for me, it was extremely important to get that 14% out for my primary and my general election, so we could flip this district after 26 years. My predecessor was not aware of the diversity within the district, so I went after those votes. And I had the privilege, and I'm proud to speak Spanish and to be able to communicate with them. So when we are at the doors, I like to communicate in the language that my constituents prefer, and if they wanted to speak with me in Spanish, I'll do it in Spanish. If it's in English, whatever they prefer. But what I'll do is usually Latinx houses are multi-generational, and that's why it's been one of the communities that have been hit the hardest throughout the pandemic.
Right.
So I try to register people to vote, to explain to the youth what is at stake, the issues that we discuss in the General Assembly. So I register them to vote and try to get them engaged, explain to them there's an election every year. I think I found a lot of husbands and wives, where wives most of the time is the person who's registered to vote. So I register the husbands as well. Right. And I think the most important part is that I found a lot of people who are green card holders. So they have legal presence in this country, but have not been enthusiastic about becoming citizens. So when they see someone who looks like them and can communicate with them and can be their voice in Richmond, they feel motivated. So I am proud to say that I have inspired many of my constituents to file their application for citizenship and being able to register to vote. And now becoming from a no data or unknown voters, for those who knock on doors and know when you have that sign next to them, now becoming active members, voters, leaning Democrats and strong Democrats. So with that, we have just boosted the numbers up. Many of my colleagues, Prince William County has the largest Latinx population, if we include Manassas City and Manassas Park. So it's something that I respect my colleagues because they always put an emphasis on that as well, to outreach to the community. So it's been an honor, to be the voice in Richmond and in the General Assembly.
No, it's great to see you. I have to laugh. Where are you? I feel like you're riding a horse behind. I'm not sure what's going on.
Well, it's Hispanic Heritage Month.
Oh, okay.
So, so I am coming from an event with Senator Kaine.
Oh, no.
I was speaking at an event, and now I'm going back to work. So my husband is driving and my mom is driving and I'm on the back seat.
Oh, that's great.
It's just part of who I am, and it's really difficult for me to say no when we have a month to celebrate who I am and where I come from. So for me, those are special. So I apologize if I'm moving like a horse.
No. I loved it. Well, because I learned more information just by asking that question. One, it's Hispanic Heritage Month, and I'm so glad that you're bringing that up, and that you were with Senator Kaine today at an event. So was he?
We were in Arlington. He had a celebration. Last night we were at the governor's mansion as well. He had a program outdoors to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. And, my campaign, we're going to do one as well in October 15th. So I will send the invitation and hopefully many of you could join us.
No, that's super because, Senator Kaine, as we know, when he was running for vice president, that was definitely, he could speak Spanish. And I think because we served in the Peace Corps or something, he's just awesome. So glad you were with him. Well, it's good to see you, Elizabeth. I know that people will be out knocking doors for you. So if you want to help Elizabeth, they'll put stuff in the chat. You can show up. But we will bring up a friend of yours and hopefully will be serving with you in the House of Delegates, Briana Sewell. Briana, my goodness, it's been too long since I've seen you in HD 51, right?
Yes. And great to see you, Delegate Guzman, as always, my next door neighbor per districts.
Yeah, there she is giving a wave. She's traveling around. So goodbye, Elizabeth. Thank you for being here. Well, bringing it from Prince William. It's been a while, like you said, and I just want to say something real quick. I'm just so excited. And a lot of people in the room may not know that we met you a while back, a couple of years ago you used to be part of the Family Friendly Economy team. And then you stepped up to run for office and we threw you a fundraiser because we think you will be a fantastic delegate. So tell us what's going on in Prince William, and what are voters, what's working at the door? What are you doing around with some of these policy issues?
No, absolutely. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me on. I always feel right at home when I'm on these power lunches, opportunity to not only learn about what's going on in the community, but also to see so many friends and to see the change agents who are actually working and advocating in Richmond and beyond to make sure that one, we keep Dems in the majority down in Richmond, but we keep these seats blue. But more importantly, that we're passing those strong salient policies that are changing the lives of ourselves and our neighbors. As far as what's happening here in the district, people really care about those kitchen table items. They recognize that Dems have taken care of them. They've kept roofs over their head, food on their table, provided access to affordable quality health care, and are looking for those opportunities to make it so there's only one job that they have to work in order to keep everything together. But as you noted, I previously worked for the Virginia campaign for a family-friendly economy. And our big push was for paid family medical leave while I was there. And as an organizer, we were listening and trying to make sure that women in particular recognize their power and their influence in telling their story. So when Corinne actually mentioned that earlier, I was just really impressed because oftentimes we forget to show up for ourselves or to tell our story in a way that we recognize how we connect to these issues. And that's part of self-care, is being honest about what is impacting your life. No, so that's what we're hearing on the doors.
Yeah, and I think that when we talk about the stress and burnout, I know a lot of people in this room may be feeling it, is because like the pandemic, and I know we'll get into that a little bit more when Kristina, I know that she's in the room, Kristina Hagen, that's the campaign director for the Family Friendly Economy in Virginia. We'll talk about that, but women were affected by this. And what's interesting to me and frustrating is how quickly on the federal level with some of these policy issues, people don't consider them infrastructure. How easily they forget why women aren't going back into the workforce, right? These policies do work, they're important. And at the doors, you want to talk about these things. And so you're finding that they are resonating with your voters?
Absolutely. So here in the 51st district, I like to say that our population doubles at 6 p.m. each evening. And that's even during the pandemic. As Delegate Guzman was stating earlier, the large majority of residents of Prince William County leave our county each day to go find those high-paying jobs. Our three main employers here in Prince William County are our federal government, our local government, and our school system. And that hasn't changed. So transportation is an issue, but it's an issue because people can't get home to take care of their children. Right. And therefore, there's no one who's going to be able to be home to receive them. So therefore, as you mentioned, women are disproportionately impacted by this more than likely and have to leave the workforce. We also have heard on the doors that people are just generally worried about education. They're happy to see that we continue to invest in them. And the governor just was excitedly announced yesterday that all of our schools are open if students want to go in person every day, if they so choose, all across the Commonwealth. Every county is offering that ability. And therefore, we are creating other opportunities. And sadly, schools have become a child care center.
Yeah, and what we find is that when we don't really have an infrastructure beside women taking care of all this, and here the stress and the burnout. And a lot of times this is really hard, even trying to find self-care when you can't find childcare. So with that, if you want to stay on the screen, I'd love to bring Kristina's voice up. I think she's calling in from the phone, and maybe Laura, part of the team, because I think we want to do oh, wait a minute. There you are, beauty. I could see Kristina Hagen. Hello, Kristina. We need just to unmute. I'm going to ask to have you unmute.
There we go. Hello.
Yay! Talk about
Hello.
doing it all. You have a little one too, and you just got off the phone with Senator Warner, and
I was just sitting right next to him. We just did a great roundtable here in Fairfax County, talking all about paid family medical leave and how important it is that we're getting it included in this reconciliation package, which is going through the motion. We had about 15 to 20 small business owners here. It was really, really great. So that side plug, I'll talk about the elections in just a minute, but this is a great time to call Senator Warner's office, call Representative Connolly, Weston.
Right, is he here? Can we get him on the screen?
He just left. I'm so sorry. I was hoping I'd be able to grab him, but he had to run off to a lunch, I'm afraid. But
so sorry to interrupt. So yes, call Senator Warner.
Call Senator Warner, call Senator Kane, call them all. And I'm not saying that because they're not with us. I'm saying that because the chamber, the national chamber, I mean, all these business organizations are pouring thousands and millions of dollars into ad campaigns right now about not passing this package. And so we need to do everything in our power to show, wait, no, that your constituents want this. They are not speaking for us. And so that's why it's just so important. Anyway, I'm sorry. I know I'm here to talk about elections.
No, you're doing exactly what we want to do. You're talking about something so necessary and an action on the federal level that will help us in Virginia. And do you want me to do one of the first polls?
Yes. So my first question for all of our participants here today is, have you ever found yourself in a position where you needed to take paid leave? I think that it's something that affects pretty much everybody at one point or another in their life. Some people have access to it. Some people don't. Some people get it through their employer. Some people are able to scramble by on savings if they do find themselves in that position. I am not at a computer. All right. So it looks about 50-50 in the room.
Let's give people just a second. If everybody wants to see the poll that went up, see if more people, and then go. Yeah. We'll see.
It's got all kinds of applications. There's parental leave, there's, family leave, there's medical leave. If you've ever needed to get a surgery and then take some time to recover from that. If you've ever needed to help an aging parent get situated in care, 81%. Yep. See, that's what I'm talking about, is everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a story. I'd love to get a sense if we can go ahead and launch our second poll, or feel free to drop in the chat, or for folks who are streaming on Facebook, why did you need paid leave? What was it? Parental leave? Was it a personal medical emergency? Was it a family leave situation? So we should have another poll coming up here.
Yeah, let's give people a second. Go ahead and talk while people just go ahead and think about this. Why did you need the paid leave? And yes,
totally.
Yes.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing about paid leave is it is not a partisan issue. Whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, whether you're independent, at one point or another, people have either needed to take leave or are gonna need to take leave. Your medical emergencies, you can't stop them from happening. If you're a parent, you've needed to take that time to bond with your child, right? And so ultimately, this is something that is nonpartisan, and that's reflected in the polling. And that is why it's such a compelling campaign message. See, we have and you know what? This is super interesting. So 42% of folks have taken parental leave, but look at that, 52% medical leave, 55% caring for a loved one. So, there was a multiple choice option there. But one super interesting fact is that people who take unpaid leave under FMLA in any given year, the Family Medical Leave Act, only about 25% is parental leave. So 75% ends up being these family leave and medical leave things. But anyway, I know we're running really tight on time. I do just want to say that this is something, as Briana said, it's coming up on the doors. It is not a partisan issue, but it is a strong mobilization issue with our low propensity voters. It doesn't hurt to talk about it with your swing voters. It's super helpful, because at the end of the day, we have one candidate, one ticket in this race that is going to do everything in their power to fight for working families. And frankly, that's who we're here for, right? We as an organization have endorsed Terry McAuliffe, Hala Ayala Mark Herring. We're running some mail for Briana here. She'll be dropping in a few weeks, and a few other races as well. And, you know, we just really have to fight the fight. And so when folks are out on the doors this weekend, next weekend, as we look ahead to GOTV, do not shy away from these issues. These are really impactful messages to raise with our electorate. So,
no, I think you reminded us that I love that we ended on this note with you, Kristina, because so many great things to talk about at the doors for people that are out there talking to voters or friends and what's at stake at this election. If we do not get out to vote and keep the state in the Democratic hands, this is the stuff we care about. And I'd love to see more ads come on like that from our party talking about what we've been doing, and then also that push what's at stake. It has to be followed by that. And so you have some calls to action, or no? We can drop them.
I sure do. So like I said, you know, we just had a great conversation with Senator Warner, and it's not to say that he doesn't view this as a priority, but we got to keep the phones ringing in his office. We, you know, call him today, call him tomorrow, call him Monday, keep on calling. And so Senator Warner, it's our entire congressional delegation. They just need to keep hearing from us. Repetition is key. We need to fight back against the haters out there. And we got to get this done, because again, whether it's a federal solution, whether it's a state solution on these care priorities, you know, there's so much work to be done. And like I said, it is just such an impactful message in the context of our 2021 elections. And it is one that ultimately, you know, we just got to make sure that we're getting these folks elected who are, you know, in favor of a family-friendly economy.
I so agree, because I haven't heard Youngkin talk about any of these priorities at all. I heard him talk about critical race theory, banning that, giving money out of our budget, defunding. I would love it. Anybody in this room that can get to the McAuliffe campaign, run a commercial about Youngkin defunding Virginia's progress. Just use that word back at him. Defunding our schools, defunding the police, defunding Virginia's progress is what his plan is, to give money back, you know, out of our budget. So look, it's that time again. It's 1:02. So we are heading into the after chat. And Robin, I know next week we have a great show. Do you want to remind people? Thank you, Kristina, by the way. It's great to see you. You brought such enthusiasm, made me happy. So thank you. Robin, next week on the show, we have a few guests. What do we want to tease people about?
I want to tease them that we'll be talking about the situation in Loudoun with the domestic violence victim who was jailed by the judge. We also will be continuing our discussion about Hispanic heritage, and we'll be seeing what county are we going to spotlight for early voting.
I love it. And maybe we'll do also a rural county at some point, but I would love, maybe we'll get Mark Herring on too. I don't know if he's involved in this case or that's a different level, but we will definitely bring it. And remember, October 8th, we'll be talking about from the author of The Daughters of Kobani, of Gail Lemon. She'll be coming on, and that will be a great discussion. So make sure you stay in the room with us every Friday. This is where you want to keep your feet with us and ever present. So make sure you become, if you want to, you have a couple bucks to spare, support our show, be a patron. Follow us on Twitter, and Stair probably has a tweet going. Make sure you click on that link in the chat, go to that tweet, share it. It's another way we get to talk to people, and subscribe to our YouTube and all that good stuff. Stay for the after chat and have a super freaking great weekend. Let's run credits. See you next week.